Equal education says school budget allocation from government is a very complex issue. South Africa has a young population compared to other countries, and the budget doesn't fulfill existing needs. The organisation says learners still struggle to access quality and equal basic education. It's evident from issues such as scholar transport, funding of school infrastructure and learner funding. COVID-19 has amplified the challenges. In 2020, the supplementary budget that was tabled cut funding from basic education. This caused major disruptions as, among others, nearly 2,000 infrastructure projects were halted.
This obviously has a big implication of learners and had a big implication during COVID-19 when learners now had to attend school on a rotational basis, either every other day or every other week because there's insufficient classroom space. Learners struggled with water access in their schools, toilets, etc. So not investing in school infrastructure really was detrimental for the education sector over the last 2 years.
An education expert at the University of the Western Cape, Professor Rohan Marman, says South Africa has a rich and poor schooling system. This under the same legislative framework, which is problematic. He says there's no agreement on what the measure of quality education means, and matric results cannot be the only measure of success. The racialized performance in schools still persist, and Marman says this is a major stumbling block which has an impact on citizen participation in the economic sector after school. He says the proper implementation of policy and monitoring is lacking, and not everyone in the sector might be there for the right reasons.
We have school principals and teachers who are doing very well in the system despite the challenges, but we also have on the ground level teachers who are not pulling their weight in terms of the teaching methodologies in classroom and the basic disciplinary aspects of how to manage a schooling system. So we have varied issues. And in my view, when we talk about budget and investment in education, especially basic education, we have to get the indicators right. We have to agree upon the indicators that determines what are the proper outcomes and what is quality education. Currently, we don't have that.
The South African Democratic Teachers Union highlights many plights, including inadequate infrastructure and transport of learners. In the Western Cape, the union says funding is not allocated correctly.
With the termination of the rotational timetabling, we have seen how the disparities between rich and poor schools have been shown out, because we have received reports and also seen photographs of learners sitting on the floor at classrooms because of the lack of space. This is an indication that there is no political will or financial will to be able to address the challenges within the province, and the old excuse of migration of learners from the Eastern Cape cannot be used year on year together with equitable share, because we are aware that the equitable share to the province have been increased.
UWC's Marman says South Africa currently spends between 6 and 7% of its GDP on education, but how it translates to quality education for all is where the problem lies. Mariska Botha, SABC News, Cape Town.